This is a 2019 Honda CR-V. Now, a couple of months ago, I reviewed the 2018 model, but that was the top of the range. And recently, Honda have introduced a lower price entry-level variant into the range. So today, we're going to have a look at the other end of the spectrum and see what you get in the cheapest CR-V. Visually, this VI variant is identical to the next model up. Same paint colors, same 17-inch alloy wheels, lights, body cladding, etc. The main difference is what's under here. Whilst other models get a 1.5-litre turbocharged four-cylinder, this makes do with a 2-litre naturally aspirated four-cylinder instead. That sends power to the front two wheels via a CVT gearbox, and this engine produces 113 kilowatts of power and 189 newton meters of torque. The big question is that enough to shift such a large car? We'll find out in a little bit. The other changes can be seen inside. The first thing you notice is that instead of push-button start, you get a throwback to one of these. When you do start the car, you'll notice that Honda have kept the virtual dashboard, and it looks very nice. The screen is a very good resolution and the graphics are very mature as well. And you can cycle through information such as who's wearing the seatbelt, trip information, and of course fuel economy. To the left there's the engine temperature, and to the right is your fuel gauge. The steering wheel, it's not leather, but the shape of it makes it quite comfortable to hold. And on the left, there's the controls for media, and on the right, cruise control. 4 power window switches, of course, the driver being automatic, electric folding mirrors. The door bins are large enough for standard size water bottles. And if you want to be reminded that you're in a base model, you can have a look down here with all the blank switches. In terms of build quality, it's what you would expect. So there's a mix of some soft materials, some hard ones too. The build quality is generally very good. Everything feels well screwed together, except for this part. And there's no rattles or squeaks inside the cabin. They've also kept it looking interesting with the use of contrasting textures and finishes as well. The second biggest difference is here on the center stack. Whilst other variants get a larger 7-inch Android-based touchscreen system, this has a smaller 5-inch display audio system. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and there's no satellite navigation. What you get is AM and FM radio and Bluetooth streaming. But I really do like this system, mainly because there are physical buttons. As much as I love touchscreens, a car is a very dynamic environment, and when you're on the move, it can be difficult to hold your finger over and hit the right screen. So the fact that there are hard keys for radio presets, media, Bluetooth telephones, huge controls for the volume, and the tuning knob. When was the last time you saw a modern Honda with one of those? It makes using it, especially on the move, very, very simple. And if you're a technophobe, the system will probably make you very happy. The controls for the climate are also dead simple. It's not automatic climate control, just your standard air conditioning, so fan speed and temperature, and select the direction from these buttons. The shifter is a straight line from park all the way down to drive. There's a sport mode and also low. There's an electronic handbrake, and there's also automatic brake hold. Econ will modulate the throttle and the air conditioning to provide you with better fuel economy. Down below there's a 12-volt power outlet, little storage tray, 2 cup holders with these adaptive fingers to adjust to different cup sizes, a slidable tray to keep your phone, and there's a 1 amp USB socket, an auxiliary jack, and an additional 12-volt power outlet, although it would be great if this one was a fast charging USB port. The armrest can slide forwards, and above the driver, a sunglasses holder, also with a conversation mirror, LED cabin lighting, and sun visors, which sadly don't extend. All right, chode test time. You know how this works. Big, thick water bottle. Let's really test out the cabin storage. So on the driver's door bin, yes. Central cup holders, no. But it does make up for it with this huge center console. You can take out this tray, and look, it's huge. You could fit multiple chodes in there if you like. That's fantastic. You could even put your bag in there if you liked, easily. And glove box, yes. So that's definitely a pass. In the back seats, space in the CR-V has always been one of its strong points, and that's no different in this model. I've got this seat set all the way back in its tracks for my driving position. Remember, I'm 6'3" or 190 centimeters. And I still have plenty of knee room, plenty of toe room, and headroom. These rear doors also open completely to 90 degrees, which makes fitting a child seat much more easier. The center backrest folds down to reveal an armrest with 2 cup holders. The rear seats can also recline, and there are rear air vents. But if you plan on taking your family on a road trip, do make sure your kids' devices are fully charged prior, because you do miss out on the 2 rear USB ports in this trim. There are 2 map pockets, and there's 2 ISOFIX anchor points, 2 on each side. In the cargo area, as expected for this segment, the tailgate is manual, and once it's open, there is 522 litres of space, still one of the largest in its segment. And notice how low the load height is. There is also no load lip, so pushing in or dragging out heavier items shouldn't be an issue. The only problem is that whilst the space is huge and the opening is very practical, there isn't much in terms of space division. So shopping bag hooks or any sort of divide storage area would make this space a lot more useful, and it would stop your items from rolling about. There are 4 cargo tie-down hooks, and underneath the boot floor there is a full-size spare tire, which is a very nice surprise. And whilst a lot of base models miss out on these, Honda have kept the toggles for folding down the rear seats. So 2 pulls, and when they fold, the base of the seat actually moves out and down as well, so they fold completely flat. And once they're down, there's 1,084 litres of space. Onto the drive, it's easy to see why the CR-V is so popular. It's very easy to handle. I cannot fault the steering, it's weighted very well, and the steering wheel itself is a great shape. The brakes can take some getting used to, as the pedal is very light, so driving this for the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if you made a few abrupt stops. But like the steering, after a few minutes it feels very easy and natural to use. As expected from an SUV, you get an elevated driving position, but take note that with my 190cm frame, I had the seat pushed all the way back, and it was just okay for me. So if you're any taller, make sure you go for a slightly longer test drive to check if it's okay for you. In terms of the engine, I tried to drive the VI model as much as I could in multiple conditions to really see if the engine was up to the job. So what's the all-important verdict after all this research? It depends. It really depends on who you are and what you plan to do with the car. For instance, when it was just me on board and the air conditioning was turned off, performance was fine. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad they teamed this engine with the CVT gearbox because it can keep the engine revs in its sweet spot. And when it does it correctly, performance can actually be quite peppy. I would like a little bit more low-end torque, but I find myself shifting into sport mode when I want a bit more responsiveness because it keeps the revs a little bit higher. The next day, I had 3 people on board and the air conditioning turned on. And as I was going up hills, I really had to keep my foot down to make progress. So my advice, if you're going to constantly take 4 to 5 people in this car and their luggage, I would really suggest going with the turbo. So if you're considering the VI, my suggestion is take it for a test drive and try to replicate the exact conditions that you plan on using the car. So the amount of people that will be on board and the sort of road conditions. And that way you'll see very quickly if the engine is okay for you. Road noise is okay. It's not whisper quiet like the new CX-5, but it's not unacceptably loud, although tire roll could definitely be improved. One area where the CR-V is lagging behind its competitors is the lack of active safety equipment. Honda Sensing is only available on the top of the range model, whilst Mazda, Toyota and Subaru include their systems as standard across their range of SUVs. Official average fuel economy figures for this engine is listed at 7.6 litres per 100 kilometers, which when you think about it, sounds a little high. And in fact, when you compare it to the 1.5 turbo, it's actually more thirsty because the 1.5 turbo gets 7.3 litres per 100. So whilst you might be saving a few $1,000s on the purchase price, you will have to pay a little bit more at the pumps if the numbers are correct. And during my testing, I averaged around 8.1 litres per 100. And keep in mind, that was mixed driving as best as I could. So if you spend more time in the city, your numbers might actually be quite a bit higher as well. In fact, the official figure for urban consumption is around 10 litres per 100. And it's really starting to close the gap between the benefits of just a naturally aspirated engine versus the smaller displacement turbo. If you want to save even more fuel, you can use the Econ button, and as mentioned before, that dulls everything down, including the throttle response. But I wouldn't suggest you do that because it makes everything so lethargic it's borderline dangerous, so keep it to drive or sport mode. One of the reasons why I think people would go for the 2-litre is its projected reliability. Honda have been making this engine for a very long time, and that's in contrast with the still relatively new 1.5 turbo. But for a list price of under $30,000, the CR-V presents a very strong value case. If you don't need the extra power from the turbo engine and you can live with fewer bells and whistles, then it's well worth a look. If you've enjoyed the video, help us out by pressing the like button and make sure you're subscribed to keep up with the latest videos. I'll see you in the next one. However, it makes up for it with this huge center console. You can take the